Hello, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. This time I'm using the Take Me Away collection from Pink Paislee, which is of course designed by Paige Evans. I'm going to start with these three photos. The larger one is printed at 4x4 and I'm just trimming it up with my Creative Memories trimmer. And then these two are printed at 2x2. I just print them at home on my Picturemate Epson Picturemate charm. And I cut the smaller ones with a border around them, but because of the way that the other ones was printed so that it didn't have a border on two of the sides, I'm just going to mat the larger one on a piece of plain white cardstock from my scraps. I'm also using a new adhesive, new to me, which is Scrapbook Adhesives by 3L. And I have the permanent dot roller, and I've talked before about how I'm not fond of the tape rollers that give you white tape. And so I'm just kind of trying the market and looking around for different adhesive that is clear, and this dot roller is one of them. So I'm giving it a try. I really like it so far. So I'm thinking about, I have the Paige Evans Take Me Away collection here, which is manufactured by Pink Paislee. And I'm thinking that this lavender color in this heart pattern paper picks up on some of the gray tiles in the subway. No, it wasn't a subway, it was a train station, but it was Union Station. So there's a subway and a train and a GO train all together in one, I think it's technically two separate stations, but they're all connected. So at first I was going to use that ledger paper because it has that kind of cool pinky lavender tone that is in the subway picture, in the train station picture. Because it was taken in a train station, it's very cool. Like it's got lots of grays and it also has some nice warm shades in it as well, but I really wanted to pick up on the grayish purpley colors in it. So I've changed my mind away from the ledger paper and towards this yellow paper with the lines on the top and then a strip of yellow on the bottom. And that paper really stood out for me. See, I noticed that there's Ontario on that map, and this is a trip that we took to Ontario. I'm going to keep that in mind for my next layout on this one. This one isn't so much about our trip as much as it is about how my kids handled the trip. They haven't traveled a whole lot, and they're only 9 and 11, so I was, you know, we were gone for a long time and we were taking the train. A long time for us, it was 8 days, and we were taking the train and they hadn't traveled much, so I was a little bit nervous about it, but they did fine. So here I'm just laying out my photos so that the two are beside the bigger one. And I like this. I like the linear look of this. It kind of draws inspiration from the paper, the background paper that I'm using. And so I'm thinking I might want to use one of these gold word stickers for my title. And at first I was gonna call this "They're Great Little Travelers" or something like that. But then the word "fabulous" just looked so fabulous, and I felt like I had to use it. Now I am taking this off very carefully. I am bending the backing as opposed to bending the word, because this is foam. It's a foam phrase sticker, but it's covered in a it's almost like a cardstock, a gold foiled cardstock. And my experience in using these sorts of covered foam phrases is that if you bend them, they create creases and it really starts to look a little yucky. So here I have my Razcog, and I just changed my camera angle so that you could watch me selecting my letters. What I'm looking for here is something to build the word travelers, and also the words "they" and "are." So I want my title to say "They are fabulous little travelers" is what I wanted to say. Sorry about my phone there. So now I'm choosing a second. So at first I chose black because black is good readability. It's always my standard. But then I thought maybe I should take a look at what colors I have. So my colors are in the second level of my Razcog cart. And so I'm just picking out these. I liked those ones that I just put up there because they're both the same shade, but two different fonts. And what I'm looking for in my letter stickers here is letter stickers that are block and I'm not going to go with that one, not because I don't like it, but because I just don't have enough letters to spell the things that I want to spell. And so I wanted the words above and below the word fabulous to be block letters to really contrast with the scripty font that the word fabulous is in. So that's just a tip for combining fonts, is that you want to make your fonts very, very different from each other, as opposed to just being slightly different from one another. And so whenever I have one cursive word, I always try to choose the blockiest other letter as my second font. So these are beautiful thickers. Let me get the name of them for you. They're called Scene, and they're by Amy Tangerine. So that's Scene. And I like the way the word travelers just fits in there very beautifully. Between the descender in the F and then the little place where the S hangs down a little bit more from the rest of the word. And now these ones are Fitzgerald, and they're exactly the same color. And you'll see here that I'm putting out my words on wax paper so that I can play around with the placement. Now, because even though the word fabulous is foam, because of that foil topping that's on it, it's not as stretchy as foam words usually are. And so that means that I'm not going to be able to stretch it out to allow other words to fit in between the ascenders and descenders of the word fabulous. So here I'm playing around with the title, They Are Fabulous Travelers. And that's the title that I would really like to use. And you'll notice that I had some leftovers from another project there, just where I changed my mind. And that's one of the things I love about storing my thickers in 6x12 bags instead of the packaging that it comes in, is that like when I change my mind about they and are, those two things aren't going to make it onto this layout, I can just slip them right into the bag on the wax paper that they're already on, and they store in there really easily so I can reuse them some other time. So then I thought they and are just not working for going above the word fabulous and travelers, because it's too large and chunky to go on top of something. It would have looked better if it was underneath, but I really wanted that smaller font to say travelers. So I'm thinking maybe I can use these October Afternoon Mini Market stickers and spell out they and are with these. So I had to decide between the pink and white ones and the orange and white ones. I liked the orange and white ones because they really coordinate with some of the stickers. They really look beautiful with this collection. But in the end, I decided to go with I like the crisp look of this white on pink letter tile sticker. It's quite nice. But even though it's quite nice, I don't really like it. You know, that doesn't look too bad, actually. Maybe I could have done that, but I didn't. Yeah, see, that just throws the whole balance off when I use those larger letter stickers. I like a large title with lots of fonts, but it's just not working for me here. Yeah, I definitely could have put they and are in the pink. I think that looked nicer now that I see it on the video than it did in real life when I was kind of designing it. But I decided to not do it because I didn't like it at the time. Now I'm thinking that I need, because there's not going to be a whole lot of layers on this, I still want a little bit of interest around this photo. And so I will often use vellum as a little layer of interest when I don't want to overwhelm something, because it's very understated and calm. I actually really love vellum for that reason. It's a very calm thing to add to your layout. I'm just pulling up the edges of it, just to add a little bit of shadow. It casts a slight gray shadow, which again, that gray, the fact that vellum has a tint of gray to it picks up on the gray that I was wanting to emphasize by using the lavender pattern paper. Those foam letter stickers, the glitter ones, they leave a little trail of glitter behind. So that's why you see me kind of wiping off my pictures and my layout every once in a while. Now, I forgot to release the backing on those pop dots. Those are Stampin' Up! At dimensional adhesive, so I just had to pull it back to do that. And now these would work a lot better if they were matted on a single piece of white cardstock, but I didn't do it that way. I just cut a border around them, so I just had to place them perfectly so that they looked like one unit instead of like two separate photos. I want them to look just butt up against one another. So my kitty is desperate for attention, and this is my antisocial cat. You know what? She reminds me so much of Maya. You guys who have been watching my channel for a while will probably remember Maya. This is Nixie, and she has such a similar personality in that she's really not very social unless if you're crafting. Then suddenly she's a social butterfly and wants to talk to you and interact with you a whole lot. So yeah, Maya used to hang out on my work surface. If you watched any of my older videos, you will remember her fondly. She passed away 2 years ago now. So I'm just placing out the letters for the word traveler, and I'm just trying to keep them really close together because I'm aware of the fact that I have limited space because the word fabulous is not going to stretch out because it's got the foil topping on it. I really like how that looks, even though the top of the S in Travelers is a little bit smushed in due to the S in Fabulous, but that's okay. Oh, Nixie. So now I feel like, okay, now the fun can begin. I've got like the base of this layout figured out, and now I can just play around with embellishing it a little bit. I don't want to embellish this one too much. I'm going to, you know, be pretty conservative with it. And so I started with this brave, what does it say? With brave wings she flies. That's what it says. Yes. It's very similar to the tattoo I have on my wrist, not my wrist, but on my forearm that says she flies with her own wings. So I really like that phrase. And even though we're at a train station, not an airport, it's still more about, you know, flying into the world and exploring. My kids really got the travel bug on this trip. Like, they really enjoyed sightseeing and learning about the world and seeing how a different city is set up and how people travel and how busy it is in a large city. So yeah, they really enjoyed it, and I'm really happy about that. So now here's a piece of pattern paper from the 6x6 pad, and what I really like about it is that it brings in more of that lavender color that I'm trying to just make it, I want that that matte around the photo to not look so out of place. Like right now it's the only lavender thing on the whole layout, so I want to just add a touch of lavender elsewhere. So I just took my Martha Stewart pinked circle punch, and I'm going to, you can't see it, it's out of frame, but you'll see it in a few minutes. I think I'm going to zoom out, I hope. And right now I'm just working on clustering a couple of these wood veneer pieces over on the right side. There you see a tip of that pinked circle. Now I layered it under another wood veneer, or no, it's a chipboard sticker that I layered it under. So I'm using a combination of the chipboard stickers that go along with the collection. They're called Wild Heart. And the phrase stickers that I chose the Fabulous from are called Dream. And now I just have my stash of buttons, and I'm trying to find some lavender. So I'm looking in my purple, and most of my purple buttons are too dark to use for lavender, but one of them was from a baby set of buttons, I think from very old crepe paper, or maybe Cosmo Cricket. Anyhow, it was from a baby collection, and that heart that's up in the top left-hand corner is a button from whatever that collection was. I can't believe I remember what collection that button came from, or I almost remember. I guess I don't quite remember. And then this button is beautiful. It's actually not a button, but it looks like a button with the butterfly on it. And that introduces a pop of that darker turquoise color that the word travelers is spelled in. So again, I didn't want travelers to be the only turquoise thing. There are kind of turquoisey type of undertones in the shadows of that photo. If you look in the background where the floor meets the walls, those shadows cast like a turquoisey type of I guess they have a turquoisey tone to them. And so I like how this collection gave me lots of options for picking up on things in the photo. So I chose yellow, the yellow background, because the girls are wearing these yellow, they're actually orange, but with the filter that I use for Instagram, it changed their little backpacks into yellow. And so that was the whole inspiration for changing to this pattern paper, was their yellow backpacks. And so that yellow across the bottom, now I'm just picking out a couple of other yellow embellishments. So that yay is from the other Paige Evans collection from, what was that one called again? I forget, but the other Paige Evans collection. And I also have a couple of, a little button there with the wood frame around it from Dear Lizzie. And then a miscellaneous yellow button from my stash as well. So I'm going to start by putting together this cluster. So this is a wood veneer from the Take Me Away collection, layered with another wood veneer from the Take Me Away collection. And I'm just looking for my foam adhesive, and my little half pieces are too small, but there's even smaller little halves if you cut the other border. So I'm just cutting the sides of my Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesives and pulling off teeny little slivers to put on that circle so that they don't show. And there we go. I like how that circle and square kind of layer together like that. And now I'm going to use a medium glue dot. These are Zots by Thermoweb. I like them a lot. I like them a lot because they're large, and I had a hard time finding large. I know that other companies make large glue dots, but I couldn't find any. They're always sold out or not in stock. So I was happy to find these ones. They're great, super sticky. Now I'm just going to thread my buttons, and I'm feeling a little lazy, so I'm going to use a cheater method here. I'm so lazy that I don't even want to, sorry, I'm a tiny bit out of frame there. Move your hands up, Tracy. Just move them up a little bit. There you go. I'm feeling a little bit lazy, so I'm not using a needle and thread, and I'm not going to tie or sew through the paper or anything. I'm just going to tie it off with a single knot, and then I'm using a glue dot, and this time I'm using a small one to just keep the thread in place, and then I'm snipping off the little ends so that it looks like it's sewn on, but it really isn't. It's just on with a glue dot. Now I'm using, oh, sorry guys, I hate when I'm out of frame. That's so annoying. Anyhow, I'm using a glue dot to stick that on, and then I put some adhesive foam tape underneath of this, and I forgot to take off the backing again. This is what happens when I go away. I become a beginner scrapbooker. I keep forgetting all these basic things, like where to put my hands when I'm making a process video. Anyhow, gluing this, and the glue that I'm using for all non-paper products is Tombow Mono multi-adhesive. I love it. It's super strong. You don't have to use a whole lot of it. So I saved this top cluster for the very last because it was giving me a little bit of a challenge from a design perspective. So I just put all the stuff I wanted up there, and now I'll put it together now that I'm done everything else. So see, I'm kind of trying to make up my mind. So you saw me glue that, or I guess peel off and stick the Heck Yes chipboard sticker from the Paige Evans sticker sheet. Again, that is the Wild Heart sticker sheets. They're actually thickers. And now I'm threading another button, doing exactly the same thing. I'm just threading it without a needle, and then I'm just tying a single knot, not even a double knot. So it would have come undone if I didn't use a glue dot here. Using a glue dot to keep it in place and also stick it to the page, so that one glue dot serves both of those purposes, holding the thread in and sticking the button to the layout. And I just stuck the button right on the edge of that wood veneer piece. It's also from the Take Me Away collection. Now this is a puffy sticker from, I believe it's from Dear Lizzie. And I think it came in a kit, and I don't remember which collection it came from, but it's a puffy sticker, so it can't be that old, because we've only been getting puffy stickers in these collections for the last couple of rounds. So more Tombow Mono multi-adhesive, and then I just used Stampin' Up! Dimensional adhesive to make those other things be the right height so that they layer nicely with the wood veneer piece. I'm going to stick Yay right there, and that just brings a touch of yellow up into this cluster. So now I have lavender, pink, the dark turquoise, and yellow. All colors are represented up there, and there's wood up there, and there's wood kind of spread around the layout. So from a repetition and just a balance perspective, I want to spread the colors around and also the materials around. So now I have these sequins, and I keep these sequins in these little glass bottles from the dollar store. And you do have to be careful with them because they are glass and they will break if they get knocked over. I do have cats in my room, so it has happened. Sometimes they get knocked over and they're fine, and once they got knocked over and it broke. So yeah, I just keep them in a place where the cats don't go very often. I think they just look so cute. I like them in little bottles like that. And so this is a mix of sequins that I got, I don't know where, I think it might have come in a kit, in a Scraptastic kit. And I just added one. I'm being very restrained with this one in terms of, oftentimes I'll scatter a whole bunch of sequins everywhere, but I wanted this one to have more of a cleaner look to it than some of my other layouts. So here I just grabbed a piece of tracing paper, and I bought this at the art store. It's by Canson. And I have all of my journaling already written out in that little notebook that you see to my left. And I'm just copying it out on these lines, and I'm not sure how many lines it's going to take. So I'm doing it on tracing paper first in the handwriting, or close to the handwriting. It's a little bit rougher than my regular, than the handwriting I usually use on my scrapbook, but I'm, trying to space it out the way that I think I will when I write it, so that I know how many lines I need and where to start my journaling. So this is an extra step, but it's really worth it, especially for these one chance situations. So for this paper, I only have one of this paper, and I really want my journaling to go on these lines, and it's really hard to know how many lines you need until you just try it out. So this is a great way to just test out your journaling and space it out the way that you want it to be. See how I keep moving it up and up and up, and if I wanted it to go wider, I could play around with that as well. And I like tracing paper for that reason. If you don't have any tracing paper, vellum would work as well, or any light paper, or even a transparency, I suppose, although you'd have to use a slick surface marker in order to practice on a transparency. Both transparencies and vellum would be a fairly expensive way to do this. Tracing paper is really, really inexpensive. You get a whole bunch of it in a pad. And I can't remember how much it is exactly, but it is quite low cost. It's probably even less expensive if you buy it someplace other than the art store. So if you could find it in the office supply store, you'd probably pay a little less for it than I did. I just bought it when I was buying a whole bunch of other things and thought, oh yeah, I needed some tracing paper. So I got it. It was just more convenient for me to buy it then. So I will read my journaling for you. It says, we haven't done much traveling as a family, but Liv and Soph act as if traveling was old hat for them. They carried all their own luggage and never complained, not even once. In brackets, they were smart enough to stay near us in busy train and subway stations, comma. And what I'm doing right here is, I'm making a big mistake. Don't do this. So I used my gel pen to try to cover over a stray line. What a big mistake. Don't do that. Because gel pens have some type of a substance in them that's like oily or something. And so it didn't do a good job. It just made my stray line look gray instead of black. And then I also had, since I had my corrector tape out, I decided to fix, I had written old so that it looked like DD instead of OLD. So I'm fixing that with my corrector tape. And because the gel pen leaves like an oily surface on the paper, my corrector tape is just not sticking to it. I'm just putting layers and layers of corrector tape all around the mistake, but the mistake itself is staying visible. So you see me, I keep peeling it back and trying again and peeling it back. And I thought maybe if it dried, it would stick, but I think it's just too oily. It's not going to stick with that particular brand of, so then I decided to try a different brand, and that other corrector tape is by Pilot, and it worked. It finally stuck, so I should have just pulled that out to begin with. I think that other corrector tape is just not very good. So there's a tip for you. The Pilot one seems to work a little bit better if you're erasing over different surfaces. So anyhow, I managed to get that fixed up, which I was happy about. It looks all right. So where was I? They were smart enough to stay near us in busy train and subway stations, and confident enough to do some things on their own with our permission. Hello, Booster Juice. I'm so proud of the young women they are becoming. And then underneath of that, I put, and just over the photo, because there's a little bit of space. I'll wait until I get to that point. I don't know what I'm doing here. My kids are crafting at the same time, just beside me at a table. They're making some makeup palettes for their American Girl dolls. And so I was a little bit distracted having to go and help them find supplies and stuff for that project that they were doing. Let me cut some of this out. Oh, here I am. I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah. So we were actually really pleased with them. When we were on our way home, this photo was taken on our way home. It was taken at Union Station in Toronto, which is a very, very busy station, but we were there quite early in the morning. And it was actually the train part of the station was not all that busy. And so Scott allowed them to go to Booster Juice by themselves while he went down and got a coffee at, I think, Starbucks. And so, but he did that because I could see them. I was across the train station, but I could still see them. So it gave them that kind of sense of independence. They had their money and they paid for their Booster Juice, and then they came back to me, but I was able to see them the whole time so that they were safe and not at risk at all. So that was one thing that was a big step for, probably more for me than for the kids. The kids were totally cool with it, but I was like, oh, you can't let them alone. So anyhow, I put Banksford train ride to Toronto with the hashtag because that's the hashtag that we've been using. And then August 2016, I just put that right above the photo. Because see how there would have been that space between the green line and the pink line and above the photo, and it would have been kind of like an awkward space. So I just filled that in with my hashtag and the date. And I really need to put Union Station, Toronto somewhere on this layout. So I will do that before I put it in my album, because I definitely want to make a note of where this was taken. Although the other two were taken, that one was taken on the GO train, and then the other one was taken, I don't remember where. I think still in Union Station, the one with us drinking our drinks. So there's the close-ups. I have some photos to follow. Here they come. Wait for it. There they are. Thanks so much for watching this one. This was kind of like my warm-up layout because I've been away from scrapbooking for about a week and a half. You guys saw some process videos go live during the time that I was away, but I actually did those a few weeks ago. So there was a long spell in me not scrapbooking. So I really love working with this collection, the Take Me Away collection. It was a really nice way to warm up to scrapbooking again. So take care and have a really great scrappy week.